Hi, my name is Isabel, and I didn't just sit alone at that dinner table. I was erased, and the text from my mom, sent while they toasted my brother with my money, proved they planned it all along. I knew something was off when the waiter asked if the rest of my party was running late. I smiled reflexively, politely, and said, "They're on their way." They weren't. I'd reserved the table 10 days ago. 7 seats, one for each person I thought would want to celebrate with me. My mom, my brother Ethan, my cousin Sophia, Aunt Clara, and Liam, my best friend from grad school, and me. But I guess I was the only one who showed up. I wasn't mad. Not yet. I wasn't even sad, just embarrassed. I sat there in a quiet corner booth next to the window, dressed nicer than usual. I'd even put on flats, which I hated. Every few seconds I glanced at the door, half hoping someone would burst in with a smile and an apology. The waiter's pitying glance burned more than the silence. "Special occasion?" he asked, his tone too gentle, like he already knew the answer. I nodded, forcing a smile. "My promotion," I said, voice tight. "Big night." He nodded back, but his eyes said he'd seen this before. "A woman waiting for a party that never comes." "I'll give you a few more minutes," he said, retreating. I wanted to scream that they'd come, that they had to, but my phone stayed silent, mocking me. But all that came was the waiter again, asking if I was ready to order. I asked for the wine list and picked something I hadn't had in years. As the minutes ticked by, I tried to stay calm, act unbothered. I scrolled through emails, opened Instagram, replied to a few Slack messages from work, anything to avoid looking like the woman who'd just been stood up by her own family. Maybe they were running late. Maybe there was traffic. Maybe... Ping! A notification lit up my screen, a text from my mom. I opened it expecting an apology, or at least a "be there soon." Instead, I read, "You're not really a priority right now. We'll catch up soon. Enjoy your dinner." I read it again, then again, like maybe if I stared hard enough it would rearrange itself into something less cruel, but it didn't. My hands shook as I clutched the phone, the words searing into me. Not a priority? After everything I'd done? I opened our family group chat, scrolling back to my message from last week. "Dinner to celebrate my promotion, 7 p.m., please RSVP. No one had replied. Not Ethan, not Sophia, not Clara, not even Mom. I'd assumed they'd show up because they always did when it suited them. But this was deliberate, a betrayal planned in silence. That was it. That was the message. No, I'm sorry. No congratulations. Just a quiet dismissal wrapped in faux kindness. I looked around. The restaurant buzzed softly with other people's laughter, clinking glasses, birthday songs, and me. I sat there with my wine, my silence, and 7 empty chairs. I texted Liam, my one lifeline, hoping he'd forgotten or gotten stuck in traffic. "You coming?" I typed, fingers hesitant. His reply came fast, and it hurt worse than Mom's text. "Sorry, got caught up. Thought you'd be fine solo. Congrats, though." Fine solo? He didn't even pretend to care. I set the phone down, the weight of being invisible crushing me. They didn't just forget. They chose to leave me here. I didn't realize it yet, but that text wasn't just a message. It was the final confirmation of something I'd been ignoring for years. I was never part of the celebration. I was just the one expected to pay for it. That night, I went home and didn't even bother turning on the lights. I sat on the edge of my bed, still in my flats, phone in hand, staring at that message like it was a photograph of a moment I never wanted to remember, but somehow couldn't look away from. "You're not really a priority right now," it echoed, and suddenly everything else did too. All the little moments I'd brushed aside as just how families are. All the birthdays they forgot. The time I covered Sophia's rent for 2 months and never got a thank you, let alone repayment. The nights Ethan called at 2:00 a.m., needing help because his 4th startup had fallen through again. I wasn't just being overlooked, I was being drained. I opened my banking app, the one I used to send them money without question. The transfers stared back at me. $500, 0 cents for Sophia's emergency. $1,200, 0 cents for Ethan's business expense. $800, 0 cents for Mom's temporary gap. Each one a piece of me, given away without hesitation. "You're so good at this," Sophia had texted once, after I bailed her out. "We're lucky to have you." Lucky. The word felt like a slap now. They weren't lucky. They were entitled. After our dad died, things fell apart, slowly, like a roof with one small leak. At first, I didn't mind helping. I had a solid job in finance, made good money, and I figured, why not? I'm single, no kids. It's what you do for family, right? Then it became monthly, then expected, then required. "You're the strong one," Mom said once, her voice dripping with pride that felt like chains. "We'd fall apart without you. I'd smiled, believing it was love." But now, sitting in the dark, I saw it for what it was, manipulation. They didn't love me for me. They loved what I could do for them. And I'd let them, every single time. I paid the mortgage on the apartment I hadn't lived in since I was 25. Not all at once, just piece by piece until I realized I was covering nearly every payment. I took over the utility bills when Mom lost her third job. I bought Ethan a used truck when he totaled his second car. I even paid for the catering at our last Christmas dinner, where no one asked how I was doing. They were too busy hyping up Ethan's next big business idea. Another one. "You're just so good at managing things," Mom would say with that soft, self-soothing tone of hers. "Not everyone's built like you, sweetheart." And I believed her. I believed that being capable meant I owed it to them. That because I could handle things, I should. But that night, I heard her voice in my head, and it wasn't soothing anymore. It was a trap. "You owe us," it whispered, though she'd never said it outright. I pulled up an old voicemail from her, one I'd saved from 2 years ago. "Isabel, can you cover the electric bill? Just this once. Ethan's got a big pitch coming up and we're stretched thin. Just this once." It was never just once. I deleted it, my finger trembling with rage. I told myself I was building something. Stability, safety, a stronger version of our family. But the truth? They were building comfort, and I was footing the bill. The worst part was, I didn't even realize I was slowly disappearing. Not until I looked up at that empty dinner table and saw 7 chairs, all saved for people who didn't think I was worth showing up for. And you know what hurts more than being forgotten? Being used and then forgotten. A few months before that dinner, Ethan had asked for help with a down payment. He was vague, said it was for a venture, promised he'd pay it back within 2 weeks. I wired $3,500, 0 cents, without a word. I found out later from Sophia, of all people, that he'd put it toward a sports car. I called him the next day, my voice shaking with betrayal. "A car, Ethan? You said it was for work." He laughed, actually laughed. "Chill, Isabel. It's an investment. I need to look the part for investors. You'll get your money back." I didn't. He never mentioned it again, and when I brought it up, he sighed like I was the problem. "You're always so uptight," he said. "Can't you just be happy for me?" When I confronted Mom about it, she just shrugged. "He's doing something for himself," she said. "It's not like he has anyone else looking out for him." I stared at her. "And who's been looking out for me?" She didn't answer, just patted my hand like I was being dramatic. "You always help. It's just who you are." Maybe it was. Maybe I'd been raised into it, shaped into it. "Who am I to you?" I'd asked her once, months before, when I was exhausted from another late-night call from Ethan. She'd looked surprised, like the question was absurd. "You're our rock, Isabel. Always have been." Our rock. Not her daughter. Not a person with dreams or limits, just a function, a machine that kept their lives running. The dependable daughter, the fixer, the one who doesn't ask for anything because everyone assumes she already has everything. But that night, sitting in the dark with my shoes still on and my phone screen burning into my palm, I realized something I should have seen years ago. Being the strong one doesn't mean you're loved more. It just means they think you can take more, and for 6 years I had. They called it generosity, I called it obligation. But after that dinner, I finally started calling it what it really was: debt. Not just financial, emotional. I don't know how long I sat there that night, scrolling through old bank transfers, texts, family photos, trying to pinpoint the moment I became invisible. Maybe it had always been that way. Maybe I just didn't want to admit it. My phone buzzed again. I hesitated. Part of me still hoped it was someone reaching out. "Sorry, we messed up," or "Are you okay?" It wasn't. It was a photo sent by Sophia. The image took a second to load, but once it did, I felt something in my chest go still. It was the whole family, my mom, Ethan, Sophia, and Aunt Clara, standing outside a rooftop bar, all smiles and cocktails. Ethan stood front and center, holding a shiny silver car key in one hand and throwing up a peace sign with the other. His jacket looked new. So did his sunglasses. The caption read, "Celebrating the visionary. He finally got his moment." I stared at it like it was a riddle I couldn't solve. No one had mentioned plans. No one had said anything about going out that night. And definitely no one had said anything about Ethan getting a new sports car, one partially funded with my down payment just weeks before. I zoomed in on the photo, my heart pounding. Mom's smile was wide, carefree, like she hadn't just stabbed me in the back. Sophia's arm was around Ethan, her eyes gleaming with pride. Clara, usually so reserved, was laughing. They looked happy, happier than I'd ever seen them with me. And then I saw it. Ethan's watch, the one he'd bought himself last month. I'd paid for that too, hadn't I? Another loan he'd never repay. Then I saw the timestamp, the message from my mom, the one that read, "You're not really a priority right now," had been sent 45 minutes before that photo was taken. They hadn't forgotten me. They'd made a choice. Not only did they not show up to celebrate my promotion, they threw their own party for my brother, using money I'd given them, and didn't even bother to lie about it. I texted Sophia, my fingers flying, rage overriding reason. "You're celebrating with my money and didn't even invite me?" Her reply was instant, cold. "Don't make this about you, Isabel. Ethan's finally winning. Be supportive for once." Supportive? I'd been nothing but supportive, and she had the nerve to twist it like I was the selfish one. I threw the phone across the room, its thud against the wall echoing my breaking point. That kind of clarity, it doesn't come with fire. It comes with stillness. A silence so sharp it cuts through every excuse you've ever made for the people who were supposed to care about you. Ethan didn't earn that moment. He absorbed it, and I paid for it, literally. They called him the visionary, the one with potential. I was just the safety net, the one who caught everyone else, the one no one looked at until she finally stopped holding the rope. I didn't cry that night. I didn't scream or throw my phone or text anyone back. I just stood up, took off my flats, and walked to the kitchen, poured another glass of wine, opened my laptop, and pulled up a spreadsheet I hadn't touched in months. It was labeled Family Contributions, Private, Do Not Delete. Each tab had a name, each line a date. Rent payments, utility transfers, emergency car repairs, groceries, holiday gifts, co-signed loans, all color-coded by recipient. I clicked through each tab, the numbers blurring as my anger grew. Sophia's tab, $4,200.00 over 2 years, not a cent repaid. Ethan's, $12,800.00, including that damn car. Mom's, $65,000.00, mostly mortgage payments. Clara's, $3,500.00, small but still unpaid. It'd been their bank, their savior, and they'd repaid me with a text that said, I didn't matter. I slammed the laptop shut, my breath ragged. This wasn't love. This was theft. By the time I hit the bottom of the last tab, The number read $97,342.19. That was what I had given, silently, steadily, over 6 years. There's something jarring about seeing your love itemized. It's not about the money. Not really. It's about the energy, the mental space, the default assumption that you'll handle it. And I had every single time until now. I opened the banking app, logged into the shared mortgage account my mother had asked me to help with temporarily after Dad passed. The payment was due in 5 days, $2,150.00. Autopay was still enabled, pulling from my account on the 15th of every month. Without hesitation, I clicked Cancel Autopay. A small pop-up appeared. Are you sure you want to cancel? This may affect the account holder. I laughed, bitter and loud in the empty room. Affect them? Good. Let them feel the weight of their choices for once. I clicked Confirm, and the green checkmark felt like a declaration of war. No warning message popped up. No guilt-inducing, "Are you sure?" Just a small green checkmark. Done. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then grabbed my keys. The night was cold, crisp, silent. One of those nights where the world feels like it's pausing just for you. When I got to my mother's apartment in Portland, the lights were off. I didn't ring the bell. I didn't wait. I pulled a sticky note from my purse, wrote 5 words, and stuck it to the front door. Let him handle it now. Underneath, I added in smaller writing, "You raised me to care for everyone else. You never taught me how to care for myself." Then I turned around, walked back to my car, and drove home. No music, no tears, just the soft hum of the engine and the sharp, steady beat of my own heart. Some people announce their boundaries with speeches. I set mine with silence and a post-it. The next morning, I woke up to 38 missed calls. 14 were from my mom, 8 from Ethan, a handful from Sophia, 2 from Aunt Clara. I played Ethan's first voicemail, expecting groveling. Instead, he was furious. "You think you're some hero, pulling this stunt? You're screwing us over, Isabel. Mom's crying, Sophia's freaking out, and you're just sitting there acting like you're above us. Call the bank, fix this." Fix this. Like I was their maid, not their sister. I deleted it, my jaw tight. They didn't get to dictate my worth anymore. The rest were unknown numbers. I didn't bother checking. I didn't answer any of them, but I did listen to the voicemails. The first was from Mom. Her voice was tight, frantic, like someone trying to sound calm but falling apart between syllables. "Isabel, what did you do? I got a call from the bank this morning. They said the mortgage payment didn't go through. You can't just pull something like this without telling us. Ethan's finally doing well. You're going to undo everything. This is not how family behaves." I replayed that last sentence. This is not how family behaves. Interesting, because I could have sworn how family behaves included ghosting your daughter on the most important night of her life. The second voicemail was from Ethan. His voice was defensive, irritated, laced with entitlement. He didn't even try to hide it. "Seriously, you just pulled the plug without warning? You're making Mom freak out. We were figuring it out. You could have at least talked to us first." I called him back, not to fix anything, but to let him feel my anger. "Talk?" I snapped when he picked up. "Like you talked to me before spending my money on your car? Like you talked to me before ditching my dinner for your party?" He scoffed. "You're blowing this out of proportion. It was one night. Get over it." One night? I hung up, my blood boiling. He didn't even see me as a person, just a resource. I almost laughed. Talked to us. Like how they talked to me before throwing a celebration dinner I wasn't invited to. The third message came from Sophia. Hers was the worst because she didn't even try to pretend. "Okay, wow. So now you're punishing all of us over one dinner? Grow up, Isabel. You always act like you're some martyr, like you're the only one who works hard. Newsflash, Ethan's been hustling too. He finally gets a win and you make it about you." That one stuck with me. One dinner. As if it were just about that. Not the years of invisible labor, not the money, not the birthdays spent alone, not the fact that they never celebrated me but always celebrated themselves on my dime. No, to Sophia, it was just one dinner. I texted her back, my words sharp and final. One dinner? Try 6 years of me paying for your life while you spit in my face. I'm done. She didn't reply. Of course she didn't. Sophia only fought when she thought she could win, and this time, I wasn't backing down. I sat on my couch, phone in hand, scrolling through the missed calls like they were pieces of a puzzle that would never form an apology. No one said sorry. No one asked if I was okay. They only cared that something stopped working. Me. It was never about what I gave them, it was about how quietly I gave it. The moment I said nothing, I was useful. The moment I said no, I became the problem. Later that afternoon, I got a text from Liam, my grad school roommate, the one person who knew more about my family than most. Hey, my mom just told me your mom called her. Said you're spiraling, that you're having a breakdown or something. You okay? I stared at it for a long second, then replied, No, I'm not spiraling. I'm finally standing still. Liam didn't push, just sent back a short reply. Proud of you, for real. I called him, needing to hear a voice that didn't demand something from me. They threw a party, Liam, I said, my voice cracking, with my money, and told me I wasn't a priority. He was quiet for a moment, then said, They don't deserve you, Isabel. They never did. His words were a lifeline, pulling me back from the edge of doubt. You're enough, he added. Don't let them make you forget that. And that somehow hit harder than anything else that day because it was the first time someone didn't ask me to explain, to fix, to be okay for everyone else. They just saw me. The more I listened to those voicemails, the clearer it became. I hadn't disappointed my family. I just stopped being their safety net. And to them, that was unforgivable. I didn't expect anyone in my family to take my side. So, when my phone rang later that evening and I saw Aunt Clara's name, I almost didn't pick up. But something about her had always felt different, quieter, calmer. She never said much at family gatherings, never got involved in the drama. She just watched, observed, stayed on the edges like me. I answered. Hey, I said, voice steady. She paused for a second, like she didn't know where to start. Isabel, she said finally, you've got to talk to your mom. She's a wreck. I didn't answer right away, just let the silence settle. Is that what she told you? I asked. That I'm the problem? She says she didn't know how left out you felt. I let out a dry laugh. She didn't know? She texted me, Clara, and told me I wasn't a priority, literally in those exact words. She went quiet again. That silence said more than anything else. I think, she said slowly, deep down, she just assumed you'd always take care of it. There was no malice in her tone, no defense, just honesty. She assumed wrong, I said, my voice hard. I'm not their servant, I'm their daughter, their sister, and they treated me like an ATM. Clara sighed, her voice heavy with something like regret. I should have spoken up sooner, she said. I saw it, Isabel, how they leaned on you. I just didn't know how to stop it. Her admission was a crack in the family's facade, but it wasn't enough to undo the years of silence. Everyone did, I said. They always assumed I'd handle it, that I'd clean it up, that I'd never stop showing up. She exhaled, low and rough. You were never the weak one, she said. You were just too generous. That line, simple as it was, stuck with me because it was the first time someone in my family acknowledged the truth without trying to twist it. And for the first time since everything unraveled, I felt something close to relief. Not because someone finally agreed with me, but because someone finally saw me. It didn't fix anything, but it reminded me I wasn't crazy for walking away. 4 days after I canceled the mortgage payment, my mom showed up at my apartment in Seattle. She didn't call ahead, didn't ask if I was home. She just came. When I opened the door, She was standing there with a tote bag in one hand and an old photo in the other. I recognized it instantly. It was me, age 7, dressed as a ladybug in my first grade picture of me. "You kept this?" I asked, my voice sharp, pointing at the photo. She nodded, eyes wet. "Of course. You were my baby." I laughed, cold and hollow. "Your baby? You didn't even show up for me, Mom." "You chose Ethan's car over my promotion." She flinched, but I didn't stop. "You used me. All of you did. And now you're here because the bank called, not because you care." I didn't invite her in. I just stepped aside. She walked in slowly, like she was entering a stranger's house. Her eyes flicked around the room, scanning the walls, the bookshelves, the furniture. There were no family photos, no framed memories, no traces of her. "You redecorated," she said quietly. "I removed what didn't belong," I replied. She flinched, just slightly, then sat down on the edge of the couch, clutching the photo tighter. "We're going to lose the apartment," she said. I nodded. I figured. Her voice cracked. "You can stop this. One call to the bank and—" "No," I said, flat. She blinked, like she didn't understand the word. "No," she repeated. "No," I said, louder, stepping closer. "I'm not your safety net anymore. You made your choice when you sent that text. You don't get to guilt me into fixing this." She shook her head, tears spilling. "You're breaking us apart," she whispered. "Me?" I snapped. "You broke us when you chose Ethan's ego over your daughter." "I'm not calling the bank. I'm not making the payment. I'm done." Her face hardened. "Isabel, this isn't just about money. This is about family." I almost laughed, but I didn't. "No," I said again. "This is exactly about money. Because that's all I've ever been to you." "That's not fair." "You texted me," I cut in, "the night of my promotion dinner and told me I wasn't a priority while you were celebrating Ethan with the sports car I partially paid for." Her lips parted, like she was going to defend it, but nothing came out. "You didn't even pretend to feel bad," I said. "You didn't say sorry. You didn't check if I got home safe. You waited until the mortgage bounced to care." She looked down at the photo in her lap. "I didn't realize how much you were covering," she whispered. "That's the problem," I said. "You didn't want to realize it. You wanted me to keep doing it quietly so you didn't have to think about it." She shook her head. "Ethan's not like you. He needs more help." "No," I said calmly but firmly. "He needs consequences." She looked up, eyes glassy. "He's your brother." "And I'm your daughter." Silence. "I didn't want to believe you'd just walk away," she said. "I didn't walk away," I replied. "I stopped being used." Her hands tightened around the edges of the photo. I could see her searching for something, some old tactic that used to work. Guilt, sadness, deflection. None of it landed this time. "What are we supposed to do?" she asked. "I don't know," I said. "Figure it out, like I did, like adults do." She stared at me for a long time, and in that moment, I didn't see a mother. I saw a woman who had leaned so long on the strength of her daughter that she forgot she was supposed to be strong too. Eventually, she stood, smoothed out her shirt, picked up her bag. At the door, she turned back one last time. "Is this really the end?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. I thought about the birthdays spent alone, the calls that only came when something was broken, the endless cycle of giving without being seen. "It's the end of me pretending this was love," I said quietly. She didn't argue, she just nodded, opened the door, and walked out. The door didn't slam. No screaming, no closure, just silence. And for once, it didn't feel empty. It felt earned. The next day, Ethan called again, his voice dripping with fake remorse. "Isabel, come on. Mom's a mess. You win, okay? Just pay the mortgage and we'll talk." I laughed, cold and final. "Talk? You mean beg?" I'm not your bank anymore, Ethan. Figure it out." He cursed, then hung up. For the first time, his anger didn't scare me. It freed me. The morning after she left, I checked the shared mortgage account. No payments had been made. No one had even tried. They were waiting for me to cave, for me to be the bigger person, like always. By noon, the group chat lit up. Sophia renamed it 3 times in 45 minutes. Urgent, apartment crisis, family togetherness, chat. The last one came with a broken heart emoji and a praying hands symbol. I muted it. Didn't even open the messages except once just to read a text from Aunt Clara. It said, "I warned them this would happen. You were never the weak one, just too generous." I took a screenshot, saved it, because when you spend years doubting your worth, sometimes a single line of clarity can feel like armor. 3 days later, the bank called. A woman on the line asked for me by name, mispronounced it slightly, then cleared her throat. "We've noticed the last 2 mortgage payments haven't been processed. Is there a reason for the interruption?" I answered calmly. "I'm not the responsible party. I removed myself from the title 4 years ago. I was helping voluntarily." She paused. "I understand. But the homeowner listed you as the financial contact. She said you always handled it." "Of course she did. That was the plan, wasn't it? Say nothing. Do nothing. Wait for the net to catch her again." "I'm afraid that's no longer the case," I said. There was another pause, longer this time. Then she thanked me politely and hung up. That evening, Ethan showed up. Not at my door, but in my parking lot. He parked his shiny silver sports car right in front of my apartment building, like it was a peace offering wrapped in bad judgment. I watched him from my window, his pacing frantic, his phone pressed to his ear. "She's ruining everything," he shouted, loud enough for me to hear through the glass. "She thinks she can just walk away?" I didn't move. I didn't owe him a confrontation. He didn't get to demand my attention anymore. He drove off after 20 minutes, tires screeching, leaving nothing but the echo of his entitlement. The next day was payday, and my account didn't bleed for anyone else. No mortgage, no emergency transfers, just my money, untouched. I stared at the balance, expecting relief, but it was bittersweet. The numbers were mine, but they couldn't erase the years I'd given away. I opened a new savings account, named it Future, and transferred a small amount, a cautious first step. Freedom wasn't as simple as a bank transfer. It was a weight I was still learning to carry. I made coffee, the kind I used to skip to save money, and sat at my kitchen table, not my balcony. The neighbors walked their dogs outside, but I didn't watch them. Instead, I opened my laptop and created a document titled "What I Owe Myself." I typed a single line, "To exist without being needed." It felt true, but incomplete. I saved it, unsure if I'd ever finish it. Later that week, I looked up flights to Barcelona, a dream I'd held for years, but I didn't book anything. The idea felt too big, too soon. Instead, I bought a journal from a local bookstore, its blank pages both daunting and inviting. I wrote in it that night, not a manifesto, but fragments, memories of forgotten birthdays, the sting of Mom's text, the sound of Ethan's tires screeching away. I wrote until my hand cramped, then stopped, leaving the page half filled. A text came from Liam, asking if I wanted to grab coffee. I hesitated. His support had been a lifeline, but even he hadn't shown up that night. "Maybe next week," I replied, needing space to trust again. He didn't push, and I was grateful, but it reminded me how alone I still felt, even with my boundaries set. The group chat stayed muted, but I saw a new message from Sophia pop up on my lock screen. "We're trying, Isabel. Can we talk?" I didn't open it. Part of me wanted to believe they could change, but the larger part, the one that had carried their weight for 6 years, knew better. Trust wasn't a gift I could give anymore. It was something they'd have to earn, and I wasn't sure they ever would. A week later, Clara called again. Her voice was softer this time, less urgent. "Your mom's looking for a new job," she said. Ethan's selling the car." I didn't respond, unsure if it was progress or another ploy. "I hope you're okay," she added before hanging up. I wanted to say I was, but the truth was messier. I was stronger, yes, but not whole, not yet. I kept the spreadsheet, not to tally their debts, but as a reminder of what I'd survived. I didn't delete the mortgage account login, I just logged out, leaving the door cracked for a future I couldn't predict. Some nights, I'd lie awake, wondering if I'd been too harsh, if family could ever mean something else. Other nights, I felt the stillness of my apartment, not as freedom, but as a quiet I was still learning to inhabit. I didn't walk away from my family because I stopped loving them. I walked away because I started loving myself. But love, I learned, doesn't erase the ache. It just gives you the strength to carry it, one uncertain step at a time.